best one on the panel right now in terms of having the full package and how you submit it.
I'm sorry.
So, yeah, I only feel comfortable saying this because we've all been, no, sorry. No, I feel comfortable saying this because Stephen has given me great feedback in terms of the pitch book we provided them with, you know. As I mentioned earlier, I've been pitching for years on animated shows, and so I got a sense of what needed to be communicated. Also, off of my last comment about making sure that your product matches the concept, everything you do about your book should match your initial core concept. We wanted to give something to our prospective publishers that looked like the finished product. You know, so rather than a couple stapled sheets that are together, and plenty of pitches have gone through on that, and I heard that SpongeBob was pitched on a puppet show that Stephen had a bunch of little, you know, cut pieces of sponges. We decided, we're first-time creators, we have to put out the finished product. And luckily, Chris Mangan, the other co-creator, works in a design firm. He had both the design chops and then also the printing capabilities for us to print up a bunch of good-looking books. But to kind of summarize what we included, you know, and a lot of people have said different things on this matter, but we went online and did our research, checked out Robert Kirkman, creator of The Walking Dead. You want to pick a model for, you know, indie publishing, you know, you can't do much better. And so we listened to what he had done and saw what he had published for his pitch book. And we followed that pretty closely, and we did character descriptions, issue-by-issue synopsis. We even we had a map in there, which was probably unnecessary. But we did 5 pages of comic art, and that's really crucial, and especially from us as first-time creators, to show that we know how to tell a story as a comic, and not just as a concept. And then I think the thing, we also had the full issue 1 script, but I think the thing that really put us over the edge, and you guys can confirm, was, you know, I also felt I needed to include covers. And by having the cover art, I was kind of showing them, like, we mean this. This is what it's going to look like when you put our book out on the shelf. And so more than just the story and more than just the art, this is a finished product that you can get behind. And because we're behind it. And we've thought that.
One thing that I think is really difficult when you're a creator and you're submitting your work to a publishing company is you really need to put yourself in the mind of the person that's receiving that submission. And you need to put yourself in the mind of the company that you're submitting to. So when we're looking at a submission, we're not just looking at the concept, the story, the artwork. We're also looking at the presentation. We're looking at how does this comic or graphic novel relate to the rest of our lineup? Is there a place in our lineup for this as a publishing house? Maybe we have a book that's similar, maybe we don't. So that kind of goes into, you know, doing your research on who you're submitting to. And one of the most important things, in all honesty, that publishing companies need to think about, and that you guys need to think about as creators, is when you're reading a pitch, in the back of your mind is always, how can we make money off of this? How can we make this a success? How can we make this a financial success? Not just for us as the company, but for the creators. And how can we make it a success in the marketplace? And that's something that's really hard to kind of pin, you know, kind of pin something on, you know, when you're thinking about, okay, what makes a book a success? And really working at ARCHAIA, you know, there's certain pitches where you would never, you know, if you just told someone the story, you would never imagine that, oh my God, that's going to be such a huge hit. But I think the connecting tissue between all 3 of the books here and so many other of the books at ARCHAIA is quality. You know, we have a philosophy at the company that if you build it, they will come. If you start with a good product, first and foremost, then you're already halfway there, because people can see quality, people recognize quality, and that's what people want. You know, we don't want to see the same old thing every day. When we go to the comic book store, we want to see something that's going to move us emotionally. Move us emotionally and move us to want to kind of put ourselves in the story and have a connection to the story. And that's really important, and that's a very hard thing to kind of pin down. But that's what you need to do when you're thinking about the submissions process, is thinking about all those things and then putting it into a submission that somehow conveys all of that to who you're giving it to. And with the Feeding Ground submission, I've said this before and I'll say it again, it's literally one of the best submissions that we've ever gotten. Because what they showed us was they showed us the script, they showed us sequential artwork, and most importantly, they showed us the mood of the book. They showed us the mood and the tone of it. And just from seeing the covers and seeing the artwork, you know, we immediately got a sense, and Mark and PJ and I just, you know, we could see this is something different. This is something we hadn't seen before. This doesn't look like anything else on the shelves. Same with Dapperman. When Jim pitched that to us, I mean, it was just, you know, Janet's artwork we'd never seen. The story was incredible, and we, you know, both of these books we said yes on the convention floor because they were so good.
Yeah, it helps to have artwork that's done on big blocks of wood. But speaking on behalf of just writers out there who can't draw, you are at the perfect place right now to take your first step in getting a project together, and that is going upstairs and walking through Artist Alley. Walk around, meet other artists that are up and coming, and people that fit the style and mood that you want to go for. Go to conventions, look on DeviantArt. You just go out there because there are artists out there looking for writers. So you're really not alone. I feel like I should sing, but I'm not.
Michael's breakdown of what should go in a pitch is I would say 100% spot on. Like, that's a message from the gods to a creator's ears for like your inventory list. Unless you have never done a book before, in which case I really recommend that your pitch, what you need to provide, if you have never drawn a full comic before, is to draw the full comic, get it printed using like a print-on-demand service or your local Kinko's or whatever, because you don't know what it's like to actually do a full book yet, and you're going to need to learn that. And the only way to learn to do it is to actually do it. It's also a really great calling card or business card for the publisher, in that same way that your 5 pages or 3 pages of finished artwork kind of showed the mood. If you don't have a proven track record in some kind of graphic storytelling medium, then that full issue, the publisher can, you know, flip through it at a convention and go, yeah, this is the kind of thing. They can go back to the hotel room at the end of the night and actually read the first issue and see how you handle the beginning exposition of a story, kind of the middle, the meat of it, and then if the story ends, how you deal with endings and wrapping up loose ends, or how the cliffhanger is, you know, leave them wanting more. And that's something that a comic publisher is never going to get if you just kind of type up a synopsis or an issue by issue breakdown, or kind of give them your elevator pitch. They're not going to see how you actually tell a story.
Just want to corroborate that, only in the effect that then after you successfully pitch something, you have to do it. So to David's point, I'm a first-time comic creator. We were all first-time comic creators. So had I done a full issue, it would have been a great education. And in some ways, we learned on the fly in doing our first actual issue with ARCHAIA, as opposed to, you know, David self-published prior. So learn, just do it. Do a couple pages. Feel comfortable with 5 pages, but then do 20. See how it feels, because you're going to spend a year working on that, and you got to make sure you love it. And then just one last thing. Feeding Ground is on Facebook, and if you want, we just put up the entire pitch book on Facebook, so you can kind of compare the pitch book with the final product if you go to our fan page.
Which actually, I'm glad you both brought that up. From a publisher standpoint, when you do submit an entire book, be prepared for us to rip it apart, but say, hey, we like the idea, but this is where we need to help with the story or the art or the direction of it. So that's not a bad thing if someone's ripping apart your book, because that typically means they're going to actually want to do it. And if you listen to their feedback and you agree with it, then accept it. If you think we're just absolutely insane, whoever we are, then move on to the next publisher, and maybe they'll accept the concept and wholeheartedly. So we're going to go to questions now, which so we can check off packaging and submissions. And if anyone wants to go back to concept or packaging submission, feel free. But the other 3 items that we still have open are the creation process, the production, and marketing.
First, apologies for the accent. I'll try and speak slowly and clearly. So, my question is, well, one of the things I love about ARCHAIA are the gorgeous hardcover graphic novels you make, and how the size and the shape and even the paper texture of each book is different to fit the particular content of that story. So my question is, how important do you think design is to a book, and what stage in the production process does the design of the final physical book take shape?
So I'm actually going to let Stephen answered his question. So the question basically is, so the creator comes to us with a completed book. How important is the production, and how do we think about production?
It's for ARCHAIA, it's hugely important because we don't have the budget of Marvel or DC. We don't have the outreach. We don't have any of that. So in this age where digital is taking over and everyone's playing video games and all that, you need to have the books be works of art in themselves. You need to have the books, the artwork isn't just what is the beautiful thing about it. It's the book itself. And in terms of how it works with our books, I mean, we start at different points anytime during the cycle. I mean, it really helps when kind of you come to the table with an idea of what size or what shape or what format you want to do your book in. I mean, I know very early on, Jim and Janet were both said we want a big book. We're going to do something big. And you guys, I think, went to a number of bookstores.
I walked around Borders, or Barnes & Noble, and
It's okay to still say Borders.
Sad. No, I walked around Barnes & Noble, and I didn't even go really around the graphic novel section. I went to the art book section because I knew that this book was going to be better looking than better written. So there was a book called Play, and it had the perfect dimensions. I was very familiar with Janet's art, so I knew this would be the best thing. And then they gave us pretty bookmark and binding and glossy